Hope so. Hey everybody, it's Robin and Scott from Recalculating Bus. Today we're going to talk about a question that we've gotten from a viewer and just trying to address. The question was the annual maintenance or repair costs for your schoolie. A lot of schoolie owners don't talk about that, he says. So, yeah, we're going to go over that today.
Well, first off, maintenance is not a cookie cutter thing. There's shuttle buses and long buses and diesel buses and gas buses and different years of buses. So on every bus it's going to be a little bit different. When you're going to do the build, you're going to want to consider the condition of the bus, the condition of the body, the condition of the engine, the hoses, oil leaks, front suspension, rear suspension, shocks, exhaust system. You look all those over and you want to make sure, because they're all important, you want to make sure they're all in working order and in good repair before you start out on your journey. So it's probably as important to do those things as it is to do the actual build out of the bus. In my case, I started out as a diesel mechanic in the Marine Corps, and I ended up becoming a master mechanic, NIASE certified master mechanic through the years following. So I have a lot of experience with this stuff, and I can see this stuff by just looking it over. I know a lot of people can't do that. You may have to have a mechanic or somebody look at it for you.
With that note, picking a mechanic, because it is a big vehicle, you do want to probably take it to...
If you want to take it to a large truck repair shop, don't take it to your automotive shop. They won't know what to do with it. If it's got a computer on it, if it's newer, if it's like 2000, I don't know when they started using the big computers on these buses, but if it's got a computer on it, everything, if you want to bleed the brakes, they have to get into the computer system to do that. So you need to have the right repair shop, and you need to take it to somebody you trust. You need to get a estimate. This is what it's going to cost. You need to put a dollar limit on it. Don't go over this dollar limit without talking to me. Very important, because I believe the major truck repair shops, they deal with a lot of professional drivers, and they just go in there and say fix it. That's what they're used to doing, and they will do the same thing with you if you don't put the brakes on it someplace, and that's important because you will get overcharged.
Yeah, we have got experience with that, and there's videos on that, so we can link them at the end if you want to see those.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to verify also that we only paid $1,200 for our particular bus, which we are well aware of that is an unusual thing and that it's very reasonable, and we were lucky to find that. We did buy it on wisconsinsurplus.com. It's an online auction. We bought it directly from the school district. It was 10 years old. And we did drive it home. It was drivable, but while we were there, Scott was able to talk to the actual mechanic who took care of the bus. It was a extra bus that they had kind of laying around, I think, for spare bus, yeah. But we do think that they did steal some parts off of it.
They definitely did.
Yeah, at some point in time. So there was an issue getting it home, but it with the brakes, and we did manage to do all that. But so back to the maintenance. There's lots of things I'm sure that we could talk about, but we'll just talk about a few. And the first, I think, was...
Well, as far as the maintenance goes, once you get it all roadworthy and where you want it, tires are very important. So in our case, we got new tires, figuring that's the last time this bus will ever need tires. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case. So I do a walk around every day before I drive the bus. I'm looking for oil leaks, I'm looking for tire pressure, I'm checking the radiator hoses, I'm checking the belt, I'm checking all the fluids, transmission fluid, oil level, brake fluid, power steering fluid, and again, I want to make sure there's no leaks. And every time I stop for fuel or whatever, I do a walk around for leaks. And this trip alone, I think I found 3 or 4 leaks in the engine compartment that I was able to take care of and head off a big problem on the road. So maintenance, if you took your bus into the big mechanic shop to have the oil change for say, and you're not careful, they could charge you $700-800 for an oil change,
which we had happen.
and again, they just think, you know, like you're a regular road, you know, driver and stuff. That's all they ever deal with. They don't deal with people like you and me with these schoolie buses and conversions. So they just automatically think we got deep pockets and they're going to charge us, you know. So always put a limit on what you're doing.
We did buy covers for the wheels.
Yeah, they were vinyl covers to go on the outside of the wheels to protect it from the UV rays from the sun. That's going to make your tires last a lot longer. If you let them get UV, they'll dry and rot, you know, dry rot and crack, and they'll be junk in 3-4 years. So maintain that.
Essentially, Scott says they're essentially semi tires that are on there. So we did look that up, and I'm sure that semi truck drivers use it, you know, drive many more miles than we will on a yearly basis. But in general, it said don't ever leave your tires on more than 6 years. But I'm sure that they're not putting wheel covers on when they're stopped and things like that too. So maintaining air pressure, I know you said, was an important thing too, to have that checked. And
yeah, and as far as the maintenance costs go, it's going to be a lot different for everyone, because it depends on your bus and it depends on how you use your bus. But again, the maintenance costs are probably pretty low, because we're just maintaining the oil, changing the oil and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, if I change the oil myself, it's going to be a minimum of $200. The price of oil, I mean, I'm using Rotella, and that's probably the best oil to use for these diesels, and that's expensive oil. And then the oil filter, it's $200 easy. So think of that. If you took it in, it's going to be a lot more than that.
Yeah. So doing things yourself obviously is cheaper, reasonable. But your regular maintenance, like you do on a car, is going to be, you know, exhaust systems, brakes, tires, oil changes, and I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about that. We did have the brakes done.
Yeah, and
a couple different times.
Air filters.
Yeah.
But we had the brakes looked at after we first bought it. The brakes didn't feel right, you know, and kind of use your gut feeling on this. If the brake pedal doesn't feel right, have it checked out. If it's too soft or too low to the floor, something might be happening. And it turned out that I needed a brake master cylinder, and it also turned out that I had two calipers, one in the front, one on the rear, that were frozen up and weren't working. So my gut feeling was right. There was something wrong. So it's things you need to pay attention to. If you're going down the road and you start feeling it like it's a misfire or it's not running smooth, probably something going wrong, an injector or something like that. So many of the things that you do for maintenance are basically preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
And when you talk about preventive maintenance, you're preventing things from happening in the future, and that's probably, the preventive maintenance is more important than the maintenance itself, because one problem can lead to several others, or one problem can lead to a major problem, like maybe a complete engine overhaul. You don't want that.
No.
$12,000. I don't have $12,000.
No.
So.
No. Anything else you can think of for maintenance or about that question? Hopefully we answered it. Repair costs. I mean, what do the brakes cost us? We've had brakes done a couple different times on different areas. Not the same brake problem.
Well, like the repairs we've had done, the brakes, the calipers, and the brake pads they put in and redid. You know, I think there was some. I think they replaced one or two rotors. I think that was like $1,500, if I remember right, real close to that. It was expensive.
Yeah.
It
The
might
first-
have been closer to 18 or 2 even. It was up there.
We've got all those records. We've saved them all. They're all at home. So I'm sorry that we can't give you exact numbers. But
I replaced
the tires were somewhere between $3,000 and
about
$3,500.
$3,500, and the rear tires are recaps. They're not new. They're recaps. The front tires are new because
Steer
they have
tires,
to be.
yeah. Steer tires are new. And there was a problem that apparently turned out to be a common problem with the steering column.
Oh yeah, on the 2008, and I'm not sure what years were covered, but at least on this bus, 2008, when I would turn the steering wheel, and normally when you're in a corner and you let it go, it returns back to center. This one you had to actually manually bring it back to center, and it didn't happen every time, but it happened enough. And when I took it into the international dealer, they informed me that steering column had a bearing that would go bad, and that would cause the problem. I had to end up replacing the whole steering column in the bus. That was
but pricey, but it's something else we needed to have done. You know,
Right.
what are you going to do? And that was done at international, so I'm sure it was money, but
it was done right.
yeah, but it was done right. And there's something to be said about you get what you pay for, for sure. Yeah. Any work that we've had done at our local international has been well. We get parts and everything from them too when we're home. Even down to windshield wipers, and which is crazy that we've had to replace those
Twice.
Yeah.
But I think the UV and the sunlight down here takes a toll on them.
Right.
But then
the windshield too. That's another thing that we've got a crack in there. We've got to address that. I know that there's ways to fix it. We'll figure that out soon. We should probably do it. We'll do a video on that too, and after we get it figured out. But I don't know how many. Back to tires again. I don't know how many miles we have in these tires.
got about 14, maybe 16,000 on them.
Yeah.
And they said that they may last. This is what we've seen on the internet, that they may last 25,000. And it's like, I don't believe that. I believe I'm going to get way more miles out of that. 16,000 miles on it. I can't see an ounce of wear on them. So
yeah. But we take care of them again when
they're
we're
mostly
parked.
highway. So
yeah.
But I ended up replacing all 4 shocks on the bus. That was relatively inexpensive because they're very easy to replace. They're very easy to get to.
You did that yourself.
Yeah. I did that myself. So that was relatively inexpensive.
$300, I think, for parts.
Yeah, $200 or $300.
Yeah.
But the
what are those things?
The rear leaf springs. I had a spring back there that had 2 cracked leaf springs, and the back of the bus. I have never been in a vehicle that bounced that bad in my life. and I remember being a kid in the school bus in the back, and they bounced, but I mean, this would have put you through the ceiling. And I ended up replacing those springs, and I think they were only like $1,100.
12, maybe 14, something like that.
That wasn't that bad.
No.
But because it's a Wisconsin school bus, the brake lines and things underneath of the bus are rustier than a normal bus.
Yeah.
And a brake line ruptured in Arizona in Flagstaff. That cost us $600 to repair. When I took the bus in for the springs, another brake line broke while they were moving it in the shop, thankfully. And I had to take that to a different shop because they didn't do brakes, they just did springs. The other shop did the brakes, and long story short, they ended up charging us about $1,000 when everything was said and done. That's, I mean, you think for brake lines, that's expensive. And they had to get into, again, they have to get into the computer system just to bleed the brakes. I had the international dealer get into the computer system when I bought the bus. I had them reset the governor because that's set in the computer. So I could barely get over 60 miles an hour when I took it in, and I had to really watch my speed afterwards. I mean, I'd get up to 75, almost 80, and I wouldn't even know I was doing it that fast. So
when we got the bus, so it's set as in school bus mode.
School bus mode.
It only needed to go certain miles an hour. It didn't need to go very fast. So
it's not all about just the maintenance. The things that are going to cost you are probably going to be the preventive maintenance and the actual repairs that happen.
Yeah.
and again, your bus is going to be one thing, and my bus is going to be another. So there is no cookie cutter solution to say your annual maintenance costs are going to be this.
But the moral of the story, I guess, is just to pay attention. Pay attention to your bus and do your walk-arounds and do your due diligence with trying to make things safe.
On a car, if you had a little problem that you ignored, a little check engine light or something that you ignored, it probably wouldn't be a whole lot of money to get it fixed. If you do that on a big school bus, it might be $8,000. So catch it before it gets to that point.
Yeah. Okay, moving along. We're going to get into our second question of the day, which is we had a viewer say to us that they've seen that we've covered several states, and they wanted us to talk a little bit about camping or campgrounds or places that we've stayed or any problems that we've had with the actual bus conversion or people not wanting us to stay because it was a bus. And honestly, I can say that we haven't really had any problems. Nothing that was that would say to me, "Oh, don't do this." It's certainly not even a thing I would even think of. But I think all in all, you have to decide how you want to use the bus, because we have kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews that all camp. We wanted to be able to go to places that they all did. We do a lot of camping when we're home in Wisconsin, and the state campgrounds, we've never had any problem with staying anywhere in the state campgrounds, for sure.
Even traveling to other states, the only problem, if we ever have one, is do we fit in the site
spot. Yeah,
and being
that's
that we
even
are
BLM,
we are 38 feet bumper to bumper.
Yeah,
that's for some sites that's pretty big.
Yeah.
So that's the only problem we've had. We haven't had anybody turn us down or turn us away or frown on us or.
And I think, like I said, some of that depends on how you're going to use your bus. There's people who are very artistic people who are selling art and that kind of things out of their buses, and they might want their bus to be more elaborate and with their paint jobs and things like that. We're just a solid gray. We took our windows out. All of that was.
We'll put a picture on them.
Yeah, we weren't trying to stand out. We were trying to
blend.
We're trying to blend in. Yes, to blend in with any kind of campers. It was kind of our thing, because we wanted to be able to go anywhere, and we were a little concerned about that. Everybody that we talked to, and when we first told them that we were buying a school bus, we're like, "Oh, you're going to put flowers on it, and you're going to be the
Partridge Family."
The Partridge Family. It's like, yeah, okay. So we didn't do that. But so it does depend on where you want to go too. So I mean, if you're totally going to be in BLM land, it does not matter one little bit what your bus looks like.
One thing we found, especially coming out west, getting into anywhere west of the Mississippi River, I think a lot of these little towns. They have little parks, or they have fairgrounds, or they have hookups. You spend $5-10 to stay there.
Get electric.
You drive through these little towns,
city parks.
In the city park, they'll have a sign, "City Park" to the left, and it'll have a little camping sign on it. I mean, we found a bunch of those.
Yeah,
and we were surprised. I mean, and they're all decent.
Yeah, they were decent, and a lot of those were just pull in, find a spot, and put your money in the slot.
And they were all wide open.
Yeah. And we have had people drive around, and like the maintenance workers for the city, I'm sure they were, just to drive around and kind of check out. They were aware of who was staying in their parks and who wasn't, and I think they were checking for their little tags that you needed to put on.
I'm sure you got the local police that know you're there.
Yeah. But it's not a bad thing, because there's something to be said about feeling safe.
How many of those that were out there. So that's a place to stay.
Yeah.
If you're off the interstate, I mean, if you're traveling on the highways.
Yeah. So so those were kind of things that was important as far as whether or not we were. Like I said, I don't think we were ever really snubbed at by any means.
No.
I think we've had people in Wisconsin, particularly. In the Midwest, we are a little novel. We had a lot of people that were banging on our door and wanting to see the bus and stuff, which is a little intrusive. I mean, it is our home. We do live in here 6 to 7 months out of the year, so I mean, it is our home, and just like anybody else, you wouldn't want anybody banging on your door and wanting to see your bus. And with COVID and everything else, we're a little protective over that. So I did come up with the cards for people, because it wasn't like I didn't want to give them information or not, because the curiosity was pretty strong, so. But that was, we're a little more novel up here, but you get, in Wisconsin, but we get down in the southern states where all the BLM is, we're not so novel, so we don't get ogled or oogled, whatever the word may be, as far as who we are. And
when you get down to some place and you have to be off road, you really got to pay attention to the structure of the road you're on. Mud, sand. If you can sink in that road, a bus is going to sink.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight, 28,000 pounds. So if it's soft, you're going to sink.
Yeah, and we do use a lot of apps that are available out there. iOverlander, the Campendium, RV Parky, and not all of them are equal as far as the information that they give you. No. But there, if you go. Sometimes you can find a site on one that won't be on another too, right. But I would, best advice in that is just to read through all the information, get what you can get out of it.
Our Garmin GPS,
that we bought specifically, it's
an RV GPS.
Yeah.
That has a lot of camping information on it.
And different stuff than even the iOverlander or the Campendium have. It was very curious.
They list state parks, they list national parks, they list little city parks.
Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, we paid a lot of money for that thing, but it was worth it to us because it was over $300, I think, for that.
Well, in a nutshell, I don't know unless you have anything else.
No. Style of the bus, paint job. All that stuff comes into play as far as whether or not you're accepted or not accepted. But overall, I can say that we haven't had any problems with where to stay. So. And
I know when we first built it, I was a little tentative to bring it into a campground, and they got all these really ritzy fifth wheels and motorhomes and all that. $200,000 motorhomes. And then you got to park next to these people, and I'm thinking, oh man, they're just going to be looking down at us, and actually the opposite is true. When we park in there, they'll come over and they're interested in the bus. They want to know, what we did, and they want to look at it. So it's that people. Campers, the general public.
We all got the same things to do. We all got to dump our shit tanks, and we all got to, fill up with water, and we got to do that stuff. So, so I mean, it gives us. I guess it all brings us down to some particular level. Thanks for watching. We appreciate your comments. Let us know if there's anything else that you're curious about. We certainly will try to address them, and it's kind of fun to just see what people think and what people are interested in. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel grow. And
remember, half of the build is the mechanics of it.
Yeah, and the rest is how it looks. So with that, see y'all later.